Continuing our reading of Brazen Chariots by Robert Crisp, page 10. I was in good company, a brigade major, another major, 2 captains, and we were able to rejoin the convoy only by reason of my friendship with the captain of the cruiser escort, whom I had known in his Simon's Town days. By the time we were all back on the troop ship somewhere in the Indian Ocean, I was Second Lieutenant Crisp again, with a terrible hangover from Plymouth gin. But the Greek adventure had removed 2/3 of the officers, and in the brotherhood of survival it was almost inevitable that Durban should be forgotten and Old Trafford remembered. There were other factors. Down the long, bomb-torn roads of Greece, I found I was more reluctant to show my fear than most, and this seemed to be acknowledged by those about me. I think it helped towards my reinstatement as captain, that and the CO's unimpaired fondness for cricket. Defense duties, training, and re-equipping were the banal watchwords for our existence. We forgot them whenever we could, at the sporting clubs, at Groppies, on the roof of the Continental, in Shepherd's Bar or Tommy's, and on more opulent evenings at the huntin', shootin', fishin' auberge out on the Mina Road, where we occasionally shared the same dance floor with King Farouk. Indeed, on one memorable morning I thumbed a lift into Cairo, considerably after the hours of normal transport and before it was due to start up again, and found myself sitting in the back of a sumptuous sports car with a sumptuous girl in the front alongside the ruler of all Egypt. I have always had a soft spot for Farouk since that night. It was all very pleasant, and I kept on telling myself that this was the way American millionaires spent a lot of their millions. But the past 3 months had changed a lot of things for me. One thing I had discovered was that life can be most enjoyable and rewarding in the contemplation of possible death. And I had found out a lot about myself and the people I was fighting the war with. Defense duties, training, and re-equipping. Gazira, cricket, John Collinses, it all contrasted too brazenly with the dark, recent memory of war-ravaged Greece and the noisy desert that waited for us. I walked off the cricket field that July evening feeling that I had to get out of Cairo. Later that night, drinking beer with some New Zealanders and listening to their stories of adventures deep in enemy territory with the long-range desert group, I thought I had found the answer. Next morning I got off early and went straight to Qasr El Nil barracks to see Colonel Prendergast, the youngish tank officer who commanded the LRDG. I told him what I wanted, and he agreed at once to have me transferred to his unit. He said he could more or less ask for anybody he liked, and he would put in an application for me right away. He told me what sort of things I would have to buy and added that I would probably hear from him in a few days. I walked out elated and went straight to the big NAAFI stores further along the riverbank and bought myself half a dozen shoulder flashes, red LRDG on a black background. It was all I could do not to tell everybody back at Heliopolis. 3 days later, a message arrived at our orderly room for me to call at LRDG headquarters. "You're not leaving us, are you, Bob?" the adjutant asked me. "Not that I know of. Want to visit those night spots in Benghazi, eh? Not a chance, cock." I didn't know whether he knew anything or not, so I kept my mouth shut and went off, fearing the worst. The adjutant was right. Colonel Prendergast simply told me that his application for my transfer had been negatived because of the shortage of trained tank crews in the Middle East. No tank personnel could hope to get a transfer to anything or anywhere.